One question I get asked a lot is, Katherine, what recommendations do you have for places to go and what to do in Boston? So I've put together these 11 places that, from my point of view, are places to go to in Boston. So don't forget to stay until the end of this video where I share a special bonus of what to do in Boston. I'm Katherine Kranenburg with the Moving to Boston team. I put out videos every week on this channel and I love discovering Boston and I want to bring that to you. So let's dive in. So when you think of Boston, you may think of movies like The Social Network, Good Will Hunting, but I also hope you think about Boston Common. If you want to experience an Italian culture in Boston, you have to go to North End. It was probably one of our family's first dinners when we moved here. I love the cobblestone roads. I love the architecture. You can still hear that the families who run these restaurants, like Mike's Pastries, for example, you can really feel and hear the history of this area. And I don't think that Little Italy in New York remotely feels and looks like North End. I really have to say I'm a little biased to North End. The other thing I like about North End is the old church. When Queen Elizabeth passed, I was actually visiting and there was a long line for people to sign the book because in 1976, Queen Elizabeth actually visited the North End and they have a specific chair there just for her. So we got to sign the book that day. For me, number 2 is the Esplanade. It is a 17-mile stretch along the Charles River with views of Boston, views of Cambridge. You can bike on it, you can run on it, you can walk on it. Matter of fact, every year in September, our family does a 5K. We raise money for the Mass General. It's a big, huge kickoff, actually for the end of the summer and the beginning of fall. And that's one of the places that I love. Throughout the season, it's called the Hatch Shell. And you'll have to look that up. And they have free concert in the summers and all kinds of really interesting things to do. But it's basically a large park. But what is so lovely about it is that you can see the change in the foliage. You can enjoy all seasons and you're right near Back Bay. And number 3 is definitely Seaport. This is a redeveloped stretch of the South Boston waterfront. And when you think of Seaport, think of what's new and what's now because it is youthful, it's fresh, there's luxury buildings, there's amazing seasonal events. Seaport, as you can tell, is definitely one of our favorites. I love grabbing a coffee at Tate, walking past the ICA, which is the Institute of Contemporary Art, and walking along the Harbor Walkway with views of the water. And in the summer, the Seaport offers a variety of free fitness classes. In the winter, they do the Snowport, where they have different vendors set up to have hot cocoa, or they do a seasonal holiday shop. So there's always something going on Lawn D as well. So it's really great. It's definitely worth visiting. Number 4, one of my other favorites is South End, and specifically SoWa, which is a vintage market and an art gallery. There are so many different components of this area and definitely worth exploring. But in the summer, they also have this fabulous market outside where all of these vendors, I remember one in particular was like this bee honey. I love SoWa. The other thing I like about SoWa is its creative spaces. You're going to definitely want to check in the artist galleries. The first Friday of the month, the galleries open up and all the artists open up their studios, so you can go in and check those out. And number 5, when you think of Boston, you probably think of the Citgo sign near Fenway Park. So for me, Fenway and Citgo go hand in hand. Fenway Park and Citgo sign are probably the most recognizable signs of Boston, whether you live here, you read about it, you're visiting here, or you moved here. Fenway Park is essential Boston. I have other videos that I put on this channel about Boston, different neighborhoods of Boston, like Back Bay, South End. I also do some hidden gems outside Boston. So hit the subscribe button. You may be surprised with some of the stuff that I share from my point of view. And number 6 is Beacon Hill, the most photographed street in Beacon Hill in Boston, Acorn Street. The people who lived and occupied this street in the past have stories, really interesting stories, and the people who occupy it now really preserve the essence of that. The one place that I think does an amazing job at preserving Beacon Hill is the Beacon Hill Bookstore. Beacon Hill Bookstore is considered the love letter of Boston. It's so charming, it's so enchanting. It's on Charles Street in the middle of a slew of different restaurants and clothing stores. And what is so interesting about it is that it has this like little cafe on the back of it. There's this small staircase that gets you from floor to floor, and it's like literally a brownstone. But it's so charming, and I go check them out and grab a good book. And number 7 is the Boston Public Library, also called the BPL. Boston Public Library is definitely not a hidden gem. It is a destination, whether you're a visitor, an avid reader, college student, or you want to go to author events. It really is incredible. I love the architecture. The courtyard is probably one of the most visited sites and the most Instagrammable sites in Boston. The courtyard filled with mosaics, flowers, greenery. You really have to be here and you really have to visit in order to like capture it. Once a month, they offer free tickets in the evening. They set up a bar and you can meet authors and you get to visit the art, see the museum, enjoy the courtyard. It's one of my absolute favorite places to go. And number 8, one of the most charming museums, the most visited museums in all of Boston. You definitely have to go to the Isabella Stewart Garden Museum. Modeled after a 15th century Venetian palace, this museum houses European, Asian, American masterpieces, paintings, and sculptures. What's most interesting about this museum is the mystery. In the 1990s, someone came in and took one of the art pieces. It's still a blank wall to this day. But Isabella Garden Museum is truly a masterpiece just in itself. You truly feel like you're in Europe in the heart of Massachusetts. It is truly enchanting. Definitely go and check that out. And number 9 is the Boston Athenaeum Library. It is the oldest independent library in the country. Truly charming. A lot of people will miss this, but this is definitely a place that I recommend in Boston. You may see it in books, you may see it in magazines, you may see it on social media, but to visit it is very different. It houses almost 500,000 books. And though access to this library is by membership only, you can buy a day pass for $40, and sometimes they offer free visits over a weekend throughout the year. And don't forget to check out the 5th floor iconic reading room with beautiful views of Boston, with its white arched ceilings and its beautiful, colorful books. So definitely go and check out the Boston Athenaeum Library. And number 10, and probably one of my most favorite, is the food scenes. It's not quite one place, but it's definitely a lot of places, ranging from oyster bars, cozy coffee shops, savory pastry shops. Foods represented all around the world are centered here in Boston. Boston hosts a seafood festival in September, and it is delicious. People from all over the world come here for this festival, and it's in Seaport. No good food doesn't follow a really good cocktail. Did you know that Boston has some of the most interesting speakeasy places for a cocktail? What's interesting is they're all over Boston, and if you know the right passcode or the password or the special knock, I bet you'll get in. And as a bonus, I just want to share there is a lot of free things and free opportunities to engage and do around Boston, from the Seaport free fitnesses during the summer to free art and gallery and museum passes throughout the months. There's free concerts in the Hatch Shell. There's always something to do. You can go to Boston Calendar and get more information on that. But we love exploring Boston for all of the things that we share today. So let me know if any of the things that we talked about today are new to you. And if you have some favorites, please drop them in the comment below. Again, Katherine Kranenburg, moving to Boston. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you on the next one.